What's going on, fellow wizard enthusiasts? I'm just making a quick video here demonstrating the Firebird's build on a higher level greater rift. So far the highest I've done is, or completed I guess, is 39, but I'm only going to be doing 37 in this video just because I want to take it easy while I'm doing this video. And I'm going to go through the gear as well as the skills, just so you guys get an idea of how to do this if you want to make a build like it. Anyway, so the weapon of choice is the furnace. You're definitely going to want to use this weapon. I've seen some wizards that use Sunkeeper, but I've tried that and I just found that I didn't do as much damage, so the furnace is the weapon of choice. If you look on the leaderboards, most wizards are using this one. The one that I have is not the greatest, but it's the only one I've found, and they can drop from anywhere, just so you guys know, because I get asked a lot like where I found it. It's not relevant. It was like a random monster in some rift, because it can drop from anything. It can drop from a chest, a pile of rocks, whatever. So yeah, the furnace. One of the rings is Unity. You're definitely going to want to use Unity because you need a lot of toughness, and this basically takes the damage you take down by half as long as your follower's wearing one. As for the gloves, your Firebird's gloves, obviously. Ideally you want vitality instead of attack speed, but I haven't found a pair good enough to be able to re-roll that, and I mean, better secondaries are always nice too. The shoulders, I mean, you can use armor if you want, but I like having cooldown reduction just so you can get a little bit more black holes out there, especially during the boss. And I find that it's nice to have at least one piece, if not two pieces, that have a secondary that increases your health globes and potions plus life amount, just because like you're going to get into situations where you're taking a decent amount of damage, and whenever you use your potion, and there's going to be health pots, or yeah, health globes that drop. It's very nice when they do a little bit more healing than the default amount, that's for sure. It can sometimes save you, actually. So the helmet, Firebird's helmet, obviously, and another fairly key secondary to have is crowd control reduction. Reduces your duration of control and pairing effects, basically. You want to have, I would say, at least two pieces, two pieces with this secondary on it, because there's things in greater rifts like punishers, for example, that will jump at you and stun you and then hit you for a very large amount of damage. So if you get like even two punishers that jump at you and they hit you, you won't be able to, if you don't have any crowd control reduction, you won't be able to get away before both of them hit you, and you'll either die or it'll proc your unstable anomaly or whatever. So yeah, the armor is debatable. You can use either Cinder Coat with the Firebird's gloves, or you can use the Firebird's armor with Mage Fists. Mage Fist, the benefit there is you get a 5th primary, which would be % fire damage, right? Instead of that, I prefer using Cinder Coat because you get fire skills, reduced cost of fire skills, basically, and what I like to do is gather up as many monsters as possible and have a bunch of blizzards all over the place, basically. And I wasn't able to really do that with the Mage Fist build. I kept running out of arcane power, so I prefer this one. That's just better for my playstyle. The belt, String of Ears, is probably the best one. I'm just saying this though because I've seen most people on the leaderboards using this. I mean, I've tried Witching Hour too, but because I'm running around trying to gather up so many monsters, you take a lot of melee damage, so having this belt is very key, because of the melee damage reduction, right? The pants, Firebird's pants, of course, and the boots, Firebird's boots. In terms of secondaries, like well, this one is terrible, obviously. Level requirement reduction is useless for me. But if it's a resist, the ideal resist to have, I would say, is arcane resist. Mainly because fire, lightning, cold, poison, all that fun stuff, that stuff is avoidable, to a degree at least, but Jailer is not avoidable, and it does a lot of damage, and arcane damage. So at higher level greater rifts, if you get like a champion pack where they can all do Jailer to you, if two or even sometimes even one does Jailer, it can proc your unstable anomaly, so they can easily kill you really fast. It's quite annoying actually. So Ring of Royal Grandeur is the second ring, which is obvious. You have to use this ring, and you don't want to have, like, you want to have as little attack speed as possible, like not too little, because then you want to be able to cast your spells quick enough without taking too much damage, right? But ideally I don't want attack speed on my Ring of Royal Grandeur. I'm pretty sure I have to have it though, because I'm pretty sure that 3 primaries are guaranteed to be a stat, attack speed, and life per hit. And I'm pretty sure I re-rolled the life per hit to crit chance and kept the attack speed. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. Strong arm bracers are, I'm pretty sure those are the best ones that you should be using, because the black hole procs the knockback, so you do more damage to things that are knocked back every time you black hole, basically. And the amulet, the one I like to use is Eye of It Lich, same reason as the belt, because it does a lot less, well, missile damage in this case. So overall, with the belt and this combined, you take a lot less damage, basically. And I mean, I've seen other wizards using like Haunt of Vaxau. I've never found a good enough one to test it, really, in comparison to this one, but I can't really see with my playstyle that having a couple clones spawn every now and then would be more useful than always having 34% range damage reduction. And I've also seen wizards using like Hellfire Amulet, but I've never really found a 5th passive skill to be more useful than this range damage reduction. So yeah, my toughness is around 20 million, which might seem high to some of you, I guess, but you can definitely get it there, especially with a wizard, because you have so much intelligence that gives you so much all resist, right? And you want to have a decent amount of toughness. Like, one thing I did wrong when I was, I guess, first starting out to do greater rifts is I was focusing more towards damage and very little towards toughness, and then eventually I started getting to like anything above 30 and dying from a lot of things in one hit. So ideally you want to have it really depends on where you're at with your gear, but you want to have a balanced amount of, a good amount of toughness, but still a good amount of damage, so that you can gather things up, and then pretty much damage as many monsters as possible at the same time. So yeah, overall fire damage 1.8 million, which is, it could definitely be higher if I used magic weapon, but I don't, and I'll get to that in a second. So yeah, the gems: Zaystone of Vengeance, Bane of the Trapped, and Gem of Efficacious Toxin. I mean, you can use Bane of the Powerful as well, but overall I prefer either this one or this one, just because like Bane of the Powerful is really dependent on how many elites are and where the elites are in the Greater Rift, and also it's very rare that you get to use that extra 20% damage on the boss, because you usually don't kill an elite pack just before the boss spawns. So at least you don't want to depend on that. Anyway, so the skills here, pretty much what I'm using instead of magic weapon, as opposed to the standard build, is slow time warp. And I'm using that because, first of all, with the time warp rune, it does 10% more damage, so anything inside those bubbles that I pop take 10% more damage from me, as opposed to magic weapon, which does 20% damage. But what that also does is it slows them down, so it makes them control impaired, and that works with the Bane of the Trapped, which increases the damage by a ridiculous amount if you level it up. Mine's almost 28% basically. So that's 38% more damage to things that are inside that thing, versus 20% more damage from magic weapon, and I guess Bane of the Powerful, which at best is 20% more, which would be a 40 total instead of 38. And that's assuming it was up all the time, which is, it wouldn't be all the time, that's for sure. Anyway, so I mean, you can use the other way around. It's not like it's significantly better. I just prefer this because it works well with my playstyle. It helps slow things down. You can gather up nice large groups of monsters. They don't hit you as fast and such, so you take less damage and so on. And the other skills are basically standard: Blizzard Apocalypse, Teleport, Safe Passage. You can use more or less any rune, really, except Reversal. I don't think that one's really usable. But I prefer Safe Passage just because with my playstyle I get hit a lot, so it gets reset a lot, and I basically more or less always have that 25% damage reduction up. Mammoth Hydra, Black Hole Blazer, and Energy Armor, Prismatic Armor. You don't, at least with this, if you get enough toughness, you don't want to use what's it called? Force Armor, right? You don't want to use Force Armor because I mean, with Prismatic Armor you'll be taking a lot less damage anyway, so you don't need Force Armor. My passives too, they're somewhat like the standard ones that I'm using right now are Illusionist, Unstable Anomaly, and Blur. A lot of people use Evocation, but I've just found that, I mean, my toughness is high enough even with Glass Cannon, and like the percent extra damage is much more handy. So yeah, and I guess the follower skills real quick. Freeze of, like I just want him to CC as much as possible, really. So Freeze of Deflection, he freezes things that he blocks, and Wide Ward, which allows lightning damage to have a percent chance to stun. So if your weapon does lightning damage, which I was lucky enough to find a Butcher's Sickle that does, with attack speed and high damage, then it will also have a chance to stun combined with this ring. You can use like I've seen a lot of people using like Thunder Fury or Odin's Sun or whatever, because it does more lightning damage. But I mean, contrary to what I've seen on forums, I've tested it and I've noticed that the only things that actually get stunned are the initial mobs that the follower hits. And like everything else that gets hit by the chain lightning of Thunder Fury or whatever, those things never get stunned by that. It's only the initial monster. So I figured there's no point really. You might as well use something else that does lightning damage plus another thing, like the Butcher's Sickle. The dragging thing actually stuns them for like a half second. If you look at it when he does it, they're stunned for like a half second. So that's why I picked this one. Azarath is a good one too because it freezes them, and it's actually a little bit better because it attacks faster, but I just prefer the Butcher's Sickle. It looks better. And I'm fairly certain that the only CCs that work against bosses are Stun and Freeze. So yeah, and the Amulet, S of Johan, is more or less the best one. Just because it pulls everything together every now and then, which works very well with the Black Hole. And the last ring would be Unity, of course. One thing you guys probably noticed is that all my rings and amulets on the follower do intelligence, which I'm aware. It's just because I don't have any characters that find strength items, so whatever, it's not that big of a deal, really. Alright, so let's do this. Greater Rift level 37.
Prove yourself worthy of your...
basically what you want to do with elite packs at least is you want to get that Firebird debuff up and running as fast as possible, and then just let them follow you, and they'll just burn until they die. But you don't want to let them get too far out of sight. If they do, the debuff will reset, and they won't be taking any damage, and it'll just waste time. So yeah, you basically get that debuff up on them, and just let them follow you, and save your black hole and your blizzard and basically your spells for other new monsters that you'll be running into. Until you get to a certain point, right? Like don't keep going to the point where you're gonna die, ideally. So depending on where you're at.
Still waiting. Not ready yet. Help me. Warming up. I must wait longer.
So yeah, as you can see, it's not too difficult. Like, I'm doing fairly well on time so far. I mean, to be honest, it gets very dependent on what kind of monsters spawn. Especially like once I get the highest I've completed is 39, and if I got like I've tried 40 a couple times so far, and to be honest, if I had gotten the proper monsters, the proper density of monsters, it would have been no problem. It was only a question of that, really. Like once you get to harder ones, if you're, I'm sure everybody has this problem. If you get to like the highest difficulty that you've been able to complete, or a harder difficulty, whatever, and you get a bunch of like Act 5 mobs, or some certain Act 2 mobs or whatever that are really difficult, versus how much, I guess, purple stuff that you do, whatever you want to call it. I call it purple stuff. It can be, you're definitely not going to do as well. Let's just say that, so don't get frustrated over it. It's just, it is what it is, right? Somewhat closer.
I must wait longer. I didn't think I could get any better.
Yeah, another thing you want to do as well, especially like if it's not a straight line map, is kind of always be aware of where you're going, because you don't want to end off killing all the monsters and then nothing's left and you're on the other side of the map from the exit. That alone which causes you to fail or time limit.
If only they could see me now. I need more time. Not ready yet. I need healing. Still waiting.
As well is
I wish I could do that.
What monsters you're kind of focusing on killing. Some of them you can just leave behind if those are the only ones left, just because they don't give you much purple stuff.
Not ready yet.
In comparison to how difficult they are to kill. Some sorts, like for example these little Act 2 flies that spit poison flies at you. Unless it's like an elite pack, there's typically like a skeleton.
Need more time.
Same with these things here that blow up automatically. They're they don't get much different stuff.
Not ready yet.
is a fairly good time. One thing that is also somewhat dependent, or fairly dependent, I guess, on how well you're going to be doing in the Rift is what boss spawns. I'm pretty sure this would be the same for any Firebirds wizard, but the hardest boss for me is Ragnarok, just because he keeps disappearing all the time, and every time he disappears, he resets the Firebird's debuff, so you have to do another 3,500% weapon damage to him and reset it every time he disappears, and he disappears fairly often. So, and the way, if you haven't, I guess, learned it yet, the way to see the Firebird's debuff is that little spiky, see that spiky buff there? That's it. If that's there, that means that the Firebird's debuff is there, meaning they will burn until they die. So the only way that can get reset is if they disappear somehow, like Ragnarok, or if you get too far away. Basically with my build here, because everything takes a significant amount more damage as long as they're inside that little bubble, more than with magic weapon at least. Pretty much I just want to keep them in that bubble and then stay as far away from it as possible, ideally. So the more I can do that, the more damage they do. As long as they're inside that bubble most of the time, then I should be doing more damage than magic weapon and a different gem. So even if they're on the little outside like that, it still counts because you can see it there. Now it's gone. Every time they have that little blue aura underneath them, that means that they're slowed.
Need more time.
Alright, so there you go. And that's basically it. Oh, is that Sunkeepers? It is. Alright, that's it, guys.
I'm carrying too much.
So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them, or suggestions on my build. I'm always open to suggestions. Other than that, let's see if I get lucky enough to find a better pair of gloves in this video. And they are not. Nope. I would have had to have gotten either 10% crit chance or 50% crit damage instead of that area damage. Other than that, though, it would have been pretty sweet. Oh well. Alright, so that's the video, guys. Have a good one.